What's going on, people? AJ here with the topic of the day. The actual income needed to afford a home in America in 2025. The numbers might surprise you, or just wake you up to the reality that the rest of us feel already. We can't afford homes. And the numbers don't lie. The average first time home buyer in America in 2025 is now 38 years old, a record high. So in this video today, I will actually be breaking down the cost of actually owning a home in America in 2025 and what the average person makes. You know, we see these numbers for these houses, but what's the average person making and how much home can they actually afford with just the average paycheck? So let's actually dive into what the average person is actually making in America. And let's see if the average person can actually afford a home in America. Alright, so let's get into this. So the first thing I want to pull up here is just showing you that the first time age of the home buyer is 38 years old, which is the highest since I started tracking this since 1981. Now, with that in mind, that number right there is the biggest issue. $435,000 for the median U.S. home, which means that there's half the homes in America are more than $435,000 and half the homes are less. But right in the middle is $435,000. And here's the issue with that. The issue necessarily isn't with the price of the home, because that can be whatever. It comes down to income. Because income determines what you qualify for a mortgage. And unfortunately, the median household income is only $80,000 a year. So with $80,000 a year, how much house can you afford? So let's go over here. $83,000. You can plug in whatever number you want. You can use whatever calculator you want. They're basically all the same. This is Zillow. You can plug and play however you want. But we're going to do averages because we want to see if the average Joe can actually afford a house. And let's say $83,000. Let's say you have no monthly debts. Sure, you put down $20,000, but good luck for the majority of Americans being able to find $20,000. This is the number. Some people will say you can go up to 36%, which is absolutely nuts. I think even 30 is high. I would go 28%. Interest rate, you know, 6.5, 6.25, whatever you want to put, it doesn't matter. That's the issue. That's what the average American can afford. And you can say, oh, well, the interest rates. Oh, well, the interest rates. Sure, you can drop it. Let's just say you get it down to 5.5 and drop by a point. You can only afford a $230,000 house. And say, oh, well, the debt to income ratio, you can go higher than that. Okay, let's go max out. $300,000 on an $83,000 salary. You make what the average American makes. And yet, good luck trying to find a house. And we can plug and play with these numbers all day long, but this is also taking into account that you have zero monthly debt, that you don't have a car payment. What's the average car payment in America right now? Let's take a look. The average car payment in America is $745. Let's just say you or your spouse has that. Not both of you guys. One of you guys has a paid off car. The other one has a car payment. The average car payment. Now you're looking at a $210,000 house. Let's say one of you guys has student loans. And let's just say $300 a month. That's not a high monthly thing for the average American. I think the average American owes $40,000. So that would be about a $30,000 loan for $300 a month. $260,000. And that's your only monthly debt. But we'll go with car payment. We'll say $745 because you decided to buy a brand new car. $210,000. How much home can we afford? And that's just with one monthly debt. That's the biggest issue, is that, sure, if you have zero debt, you can afford a decent house, $275,000, which you can find a decent house. But the truth is that the average American is looking for a house in the low 200s. Because that's really what we can afford with an $83,000 salary, which is what the median income is. So what can we afford for low 210s? You know, what can we actually afford? Let's go 250 the highest. And let's go 200. Because we're looking for a starter home. We're looking for the first-time home buyers. This is the issue right here. Is that the issue is that there's not enough homes. Right here. This is my issue right here. $250,000 is the most. And I see one house. You know, sure, you want to live here. One picture. Your rate house. $209,000. This looks very cheap. Let's see. Gonna need a lot of work. Gonna need a lot of work. Is that really where, you're not poor either. That's the thing, is that you're not poor. You make what the median household makes. And this is what you're left with. You're left with this. You're left with living in fucking apartments. For $250,000, you can have this segment of house. Enjoy it. It's all yours. I bumped up the numbers to show you what we all envision as middle class. $400,000. This is what the majority of us would consider middle class. A decent house, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet. This is what we all want. This is what we thought middle class was. You are the average. You make what the average, median household makes. It's $400,000 for this house. Which means that to qualify for this house, you have to make, let's see what you gotta make here. $160,000 a year. Yeah, about we'll say you can afford that. So you gotta make $160,000 a year, which puts you in the top quarter, I think, of incomes to afford, a basic starter home. There ain't nothing special about this home. Looks like a basic starter home. No HOA. That's good. But let's see what this house was going for. Yeah, right here. $200,000. Somebody bought it for 3 years ago. Oh, they dropped the price. Wow, they tried to get $440,000 for it. But they'll settle for $399,000. That's plenty of money for them. And it just never ends. We will never be able to buy a home because they just keep raising the prices of these homes, and we can't afford them. I don't know how anybody is even qualifying for these homes. $350,000 house. This looks like a typical middle class home. Very nice inside. This is what we think. But if you make what the middle class is, you can't afford that. $350,000 house. Yeah, you got to make $150,000. Yeah. Let me just show you something. Yeah, you're in the top quarter. You're special. You can afford a decent home. That's what you get in America. And the thing is that Tampa isn't one of the more expensive cities in Florida. Sure, it's expensive, but not expensive as Clearwater, as expensive as Miami. It's not the biggest city. It's like a Jacksonville in a sense. It should be affordable. And yet, this is all that pops up for the price range that we just talked about. $200,000 to $260,000 for a 2-bed, 1.5 bath. You're not asking for the big mansion. You're asking for a decent home. And a lot of these homes, if you know Tampa, you know these areas. That's all I gotta say. And this is what you get. So I don't know the answer. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just here to tell you the truth about actual pricing. Because something's not adding up, and I don't know how people are actually making it make sense, but from somebody who's studying finance, studying economics, has a real estate, license, I can tell you right now, the numbers are totally flip-flopped. There should be homes that are $240,000 all day long on the market. Yeah, for $250,000, you get townhomes, right there. Townhomes. I know my screen's kind of in the way, but, you get townhomes. That's all you get. Is this where you want to raise your family? Not even, house isn't even done. This isn't even, a little bit of construction, that's fine. I think there's wood on the wall right there, and that's what you get. Because you want to stay close to your job. It's easy to say, there's homes out there that are $200,000. Yeah, sure, but is there any jobs out there? And are those jobs even keeping up with the median household income? Because if they're in the middle of butt-F nowhere, are they really keeping up with what the median household income is? I don't know. If you can explain it to me, please leave your comments below. So that's all I got for you guys. we went through the numbers. We broke down what the median household income is actually making, and what house you can actually afford in Florida. You know, results may vary depending on your zip code, but I know the majority of zip codes for $220,000, you're not finding your starter home that you thought. You're finding your starter home that you thought you could afford is $60,000 above your price range, because you're probably looking at $280,000, $290,000. And unfortunately, you don't qualify for that. Yet, you're the median income. So, please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear you guys. Please tell me, guys, what you guys think about the video. Tell me what you want to see in the future. Give me a shout out. Peace.